Call to order the County of Placer Planning Commission for Thursday, June 11th, 2020, and offer to stand and salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'm going to read the statement. Welcome to everyone. It's important for Placer County to conduct our business to ensure essential services for our citizens. We're doing everything we can to facilitate residents staying at home and social distancing. We encourage the public to engage in this process. With that in mind, our public comment for this meeting will be offered through a complimentary remote call-in process. Citizens who wish to comment today that did not call the reservation line prior to the start of the meeting should be prepared to use our call-in line at 530-886-1800. Please call in at the time I open the public comment for the specific item you would like to address, which may include, first, public comment for matters not included on the agenda, second, a consent item, or third, a timed item. Your call will be queued through our county operator and transferred into the Planning Commission chambers to be heard in the order in which the calls are received. If you receive a busy signal, please try back on the same number to be connected for comment. Please be aware that there is a 30-second delay between our meeting proceedings and the chambers and your viewing at home. Each commenter is entitled to 3 minutes of comment time, so hold times will be longer if there are many callers. Thank you for your patience as we work to preserve the safety and health of all meeting participants and ensure that each citizen who wishes to comment has the opportunity to do so. My experience also is we're closer to a minute sometimes on delay between what's seen on television and here, so it's probably wise that we take more than 30 seconds to
further in the meeting, the longer the delay gets.
Really?
I think that's what was happening.
I don't know if you heard that, but the further into the meeting, the delay goes longer, so we'll keep that in consideration. So at this time, if the planning director would give his report.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, roll call.
Good morning. Mr. Cannon is absent. Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Moss?
Here.
Mr. Nader?
Here.
Mr. Herzog is absent. Mr. Sevison?
He was there, yeah. Larry, are you on the line? There he is.
There. Maybe he's on mute.
Mr. Sevison?
Give us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
His mouth is moving.
Larry, you're on mute, I think.
Now?
There you go.
Okay. Sorry.
That's all right.
I can get her on a backhoe.
And Mr. Hauge?
Here.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, EJ, if you'd give the Planning Commissioner's Director's report.
Good morning, Chairman Hauge, Commissioners, and welcome back, Chairman, in person, live in the hearing room. We appreciate that. EJ Avaldi with the Planning Services Division. I'll first report, we had a Board of Supervisors meeting this past Tuesday. They took up 4 items that your commission made a recommendation on. That was a White Hawk 1 subdivision, Brady Vineyard subdivision, the accessory dwelling unit zoning text amendment, and also the specific plan amendment out in Placer Vineyards regarding accessory dwelling units. All 4 of those projects were approved. So as you recommended. Also, looking at upcoming Planning Commission schedule, the June 25th meeting is going to be canceled. So we will not see you again until after July 4th. So that will be either July 9th or July 23rd. The Placer County Conservation Plan is really driving the scheduling of that meeting or those meetings right now, and it could be at either one of those. So I think we're closing in on that. I would also like to report that our front counter here at the agency is open for appointments only now, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Over the next week or two, you might even see that open up further, and we'll make announcements at that time. And as far as the permit activity, over the course of the last 3 months, March, April, and May, our building permit submittals have gone month over month from 255 permits to 398 per month. Last month was 522. So
Wow.
our online submittal processes seem to be working very well, and the public is taking advantage of that. Planning permits numbers have been relatively the same over the last 3 months too. So things are busy. So with that, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have a question. From our last meeting, did we generate any appeals?
Let's see. Last meeting was at the Sayre Winery? No.
Yeah,
I'll
I
go
believe
ahead
it
and
was
speak to that.
Sayre. There was an appeal filed for the Sayre project,
Uh-huh.
and there was also another appeal filed, I believe, as well.
Oh,
La
Lakeside
Lima was
Development,
appealed
La
as well.
Lima. Thank you. Thanks for refreshing our memory. So 2 appeals will be going forward to the board.
All right. Thank you. And also, it's good to be back, and I also want to thank Nathan for conducting the chairmanship while I was on the Zoom call. So, all right. At this time, I will now open the public comment for any matters that are not on the Planning Commission agenda, and we will wait to see if there's any calls for approximately 1 minute.
Maybe repeat the phone number.
The phone number. I'm going to have to. So the phone number to call in is 530-886-1800. 530-886-1800. Okay. Well, we're almost at a minute, so you're going to get confirmation on that. Okay. So to let everyone know there's potentially a caller. Oh, it's okay. So it's for another item. So with no other callers for the public comment period, this item on the agenda is closed. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. Would any commissioners like to remove any items from the consent agenda? Does anyone from the public want to remove any items from the consent agenda? And I have a question for the attorney. The minutes are on the consent agenda, and I recuse myself for a part of the agenda. How should that be handled?
So the way it normally works for the consent items that include the last board meetings, if you hadn't attended the meeting and didn't have an opportunity to view it, the best method is to abstain from voting on that item. But you don't need to recuse yourself. You would just abstain from voting on it.
Just abstain from voting on those minutes, even though I listened to the rest of the agenda.
Well, if you on the
I
items where you
participated.
recuse yourself, I got you. Yeah, no, I believe in that instance you can still vote on the actual minutes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any commissioners want to remove an agenda item? Okay. We'll take at this time. Then we'll open it up to public comment.
Yeah, we're a little issue. Here, sorry.
Okay. So we do have a comment coming in and okay. And I think I want to apologize for the feedback we're getting. It looks like all the microphones are on and we can't turn them off yet, so. Okay.
Careful.
What's that?
Say no. Careful what I say.
Exactly. For those watching online, we're still waiting for technical difficulties to be resolved, and we do have a caller who's going to be commenting on the consent agenda.
Yeah. Be good if the controllers get that.
There we go.
Good morning, you're live in the hearing room. You have 3 minutes to make your comment.
Thank you very much for the final. My own property along PFE, and the reason I'm asking for the consent items to be commented on is basically there's a noise mitigation factor that was never taken into account in the existing houses. I brought this up in 2015. And it was never
At this point, excuse me, sir.
Okay, just a minute.
Excuse me.
Stop,
Please hold for
please.
just a moment. We need you to state your name for the
Well,
record.
and actually, at this point, the request is just to remove an item from consent. There will be an opportunity later for the person to comment on the particular item.
Correct.
Are you requesting to pull this item?
Correct. I'm asking it to be pulled from consent.
Okay.
Then you'll have another time to comment on it.
Okay. Thank you. And do I do that now or?
I think we should just
Not
put
yet.
them on hold until the item gets called.
Okay, so that's item B has been requested to be removed from the consent agenda. Are there any other callers coming in requesting to remove an agenda item? Any other callers, Sue?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we will hold for a little bit while we resolve issues. No more calls? Okay, no other calls, so it. Oh.
I don't think it's working.
Johnson, can I have a vote from Mr. Johnson, please?
I don't think it's working.
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Stepped out.
He stepped out?
Yes.
Sevison?
You're on mute, Larry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wait, I don't think you were transmitting.
Yeah, we're having a few telecommunication issues here this morning. There was a motion made to approve items A and C on the consent agenda, and I am asking for your vote, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Moss.
Yes.
And Mr. Hauge.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So now
Chair, I might suggest that if we are having issues streaming and the public is having issues watching, we may want to take a 5-minute break just to make sure all of those errors are fixed so that... Actually, never mind. I think we're good to go
Okay,
now.
we have a thumbs up. Okay. So we're back and things are working. All right. So that concludes the consent item. We're moving on to the timed items.
No, the one item that I pulled.
Except for the pulled item. So now I believe we're going to be reviewing item B, the Morgan Hills Residential Subdivision Extension of Time. And again, if you want to comment on this, please call 530-886-1800. And we will wait approximately 30 seconds for the calls to come through.
Are you going to have a staff presentation?
I will assume there is a staff presentation.
Nick Shapiro, the planner on this project, on the line.
Sorry, am I supposed to speak now, or yes or no?
Not yet.
Not yet. The planner will present the project.
Good morning. This is Nick Shapiro. Could you hear me well?
No, it's kind of quiet, Nick.
Okay. I'll try again. It's been a little spotty, the reception. Is that a little better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, just feel free to interrupt me in case that's not clear. So the item I have before you today is the Morgan Knolls extension of time. The applicant's requesting a second 2-year extension of time for a previously approved tentative subdivision map for a single-family residential subdivision and a variance to increase the allowable building coverage on the lots. The tentative map was originally approved by the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors in 2015 and supported by a mitigated negative declaration. An extension of time was approved by the Planning Commission on September 13, 2018, which extended the project's expiration date to July 15, 2020. Next slide, please. Slide 39. The property is located at the northeast corner of Willargo Road and PSE Road intersection in the West Roseville area. It is located in the Dry Creek Community Plan area. Next slide, slide 40. Access to the site is from Willargo Road, just north of PSE
Nick,
Road.
can you hold on for just a moment, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick, you can go forward again.
Okay. So as you can see on slide 40, access to the site is from Willargo Road, just north of PSE Road. Hidden Crossing Subdivision is located just to the north and east, and Rio Vineyard specific plan area is located to the west. Next slide, please. So the tentative map was approved in 2015 by your Planning Commission, allowing 61 single-family residential lots proposed on a parcel measuring 16.4 acres. We did receive one public comment letter from the resident at the adjacent Hidden Crossing subdivision. They expressed concerns regarding traffic construction traffic related to the Largo Bridge Improvement Project, and also suggested speed humps for traffic calming and the hidden crossing subdivisions. I'm happy to answer any questions regarding that. Also, Candace Bartlett, ESD, is online and is available to answer any questions regarding those comments. Also, I wanted to note that overall the applicant has been, I'm sorry, go back to the next slide, slide 42. So, overall, the applicant has demonstrated due diligence in pursuing the implementation of the project through preparation of the improvement plans. So, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. At this time, are there any commission questions of Nick? Seeing none, applicant, if you want to make statement, that would be the time.
Mr. Small, it is your turn to make any comments about the project.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. And planning commissioners, thank you for your time and all those attending. I own property along PFE, and we are opposite of the hidden crossing. I guess you could say the entrance there for the property that's there that Morgan Knolls will be attached to or primarily use as an exit area.
Excuse me, is this the applicant?
No.
Or is this a member
No.
of? Okay, I'm sorry. Sir, to make your public comment, we will wait until the applicant has an opportunity to discuss his project.
Well, I wasn't prepared. Yeah, okay, I don't have anything prepared. I mean, the map is what it is. It's been approved, and we've done a lot of work on this project. And what we're here for today is to get it extended because it's expiring soon. So I don't really have. There's not really a lot to add. I think Nick went. It's hard to hear what's going on, but
understood. So if you have no further presentation, if you would stay online and listen as we go through public comments, and then...
absolutely. I appreciate that.
All right. So at this time, it's appropriate for anyone from the public wishing to comment. And again, if you want to call in and have not, it's the phone number is 530-886-1800. Right.
Just so the commission's aware as well, I think the microphones are working now, so that might help with some of the sound.
Good.
Whenever you're ready.
We're ready.
Okay, my name is Tony Small. I'm at the property south of Hidden Crossing. I will be directly affected by the increase of traffic and noise and the LOS that will be occurring along PFE. So in regards to the actual request to extend this time that you have on this mitigated neg deck, I ask that you actually consider this as far as how it has not mitigated the noise factor in the environmental issues as issued in the original document from 2015. I've spoken about this at the primary meeting on this and just brought it up, and I never got any resolution on it. So I ask that you take a look at how the mitigated noise, the increase of mitigated noise, is going to be mitigated for the already living residents or already existing residential area that has been here that did not get a sound wall, retaining wall built to divert the noise that this caused, not only for Hidden Crossing, but now for Morgan Knolls. So, and I just have a quick question too. Now I understand that the proposed did not change in any way. Well, it changed just minorly in June 16th. Is that not correct, or based off of June 16th?
So it's 61 residential lots dropped down to 58, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm just curious, as far as the planning commission goes, there was also a vote to change what was considered something that's not even in the verbiage of the community plan, which talked about creating a medium density residential. So at that time, they approved it, which is fine. I understand that. But that is setting a precedence that I don't think was meant to be taking place in one meeting that changes the document of the overall general plan. And I'm hesitant that going forward, without addressing that any further, you're going to set yourself up for challenges in that regard with increasing the density and calling it something else when it in fact is high density is 4 houses or more, and low density is 3 or below. You have 3 to 4 and calling it medium residential or medium density.
Do you have further comment?
No, I just asked that you at the time not approve the extension.
All right. All right. Okay. Are there
Thank
other
you.
callers? No. Okay. Nick, could you address the issues that were just brought up regarding the noise mitigation and also the medium density residential designation?
Yes, sure. So, as approved as medium density residential. In fact, there has been some minor modifications done since the approval, moving the tot lot around, and actually the lot number is now from 61 to 58 lots, as you can see in the staff report, and then the plans and the attachments to the staff report. With regards to noise, I know we have a condition on construction noise hours and operation for the project that was originally approved back in 2015.
Okay.
And there's also other ongoing projects in the area, like the Willerda Bridge project will be a PSE Willerda intersection improvement projects that are sites are also serving the real specific plan area.
All right. We have one more comment coming in on this subdivision from the public. So, Sue, if you would put them on, and then Nick, we may have more questions.
Okay.
It's not from Morgan. Oh, Nick, and the public. The comment is not for this project. So, Nick, did you have anything further to say?
I have the applicant.
I wanted to
no.
find out if Nick had more, and then we'll go to the applicant.
At this point, no, I was going to mention they will have a sound wall on PSE and Willerda Road for this particular project also installed.
Okay. Does the applicant have a response?
I don't have anything more to say. It's really, I apologize. It's really hard to hear from my phone. It just everything sounds kind of muffled. But I know that we've put a lot of work and effort in trying to make this a really nice project, and we would appreciate your approval on the extension.
All right.
Looked a long time on this.
All right. Thank you. At this time, Commission, I think, were there any further questions? No? Okay. In that case, where the chair will accept the motion.
Mr. Chair, I recommend.
Turn on.
It's on. I recommend the Planning Commission approve a 2-year extension of time for the Morgan Knolls subdivision tentative subdivision map and variance based on the findings and modified conditions of approval included in the staff report.
Second.
There is a first and a second on the motion. Roll call.
I have a first from Mr. Moss, a second from Mr. Nader, so a vote from Mr. Johnson, please.
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Yes.
Mr. Nader?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. So at this time, we're moving, a question from Curtis. Is there any appeal on this decision?
Yes.
Okay, so if someone would like to appeal the decision of the commission, there is a fee of $619, and you have how many days?
Yes.
10 days to appeal. Okay. So at this time, we're moving into the timed items. The first item is a Tahoe Mountains Air Sports Incorporated rafting permit. Members of the public may now begin calling in at 530-886-1800 to begin queuing in for public comment on the item, which will not begin until the item presentation is complete. Stacy Wider will be presenting the item. Good morning, Stacy.
You hear me? Do you hear me okay? Okay. Good morning, Chair Hauge and fellow planning commissioners. Whoops, let me get us on the right one here. Oh, no. Sorry. Uh-oh. Oh, okay. I'll give it one second. There we go.
Stacy, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I may.
This is Larry. There was a question about whether these two applicants for rafting had submitted their applications on a timely fashion. Can you answer that for me while you're waiting?
May I? Read.
That item really needs to wait till the item's called.
Yeah. Larry, we'll wait till that item is on. Also, Sue is going to be bringing on the project applicant so he can hear your presentation. So if you could wait till he's online.
Sure. No problem.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Yeah,
You're live in the hearing room to hear Stacy's presentation.
great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Stacy, if you could proceed.
Here we go. Good morning. I am here today to present the 1005 item, which is the Tahoe Mountain Air Sports Rafting License. Specifically, the applicants are requesting approval of a conditional use permit modification to allow continued outdoor recreation concessions and a rafting license in order to continue to operate a commercial river raft rental business along the Truckee River for an additional 3-year term. To get you oriented as to where the project site is located uniquely, it has 2 ends to it, in that with rafting, there is the point of ingress, so where rafts are put onto the river, and that is located, oh, that's not working, okay. It is located right in here. And then the rafts float down the river and take out just before Alpine Meadows Road or the River Ranch, which is a restaurant. And this next slide is an aerial just to give you more of a general idea and a sense of surrounding properties. These are typically single-family residences along the river. This is commercial, and this is commercial as well down here. With the rafting requirements, or with the rafting licenses, there are a number of requirements, and these have all been incorporated as conditions of approval, as you have seen over many, many years. Specifically, the use permit is for the outdoor recreation concessions. The 3-year rafting license is actually governed by Chapter 5 of our Placer County Code. Uniquely, it's Article 5.16, which is special business licenses specifically for rafting. And there are 100 raft tags per company, so a maximum of 200 tags can be on the river at any one time. So I'll expand on that briefly. So for example, for Mountain Air Sports, they are only allowed 100 tags, and should tag number 3 be put on the river at 10 o'clock, but not come off the river until 5 o'clock, that boat, that tag, is only allowed to go down the river and is only counted as one time. Conversely, if raft tag number 97 could go down the river multiple times because the rafters just swiftly went down the river, So again, it's just only 100 tags, but of those tags, multiple rafts could go through the river multiple times during the day. Or not, depending on the rafters. Rafts shall not be rented out before 9 a.m. or after 3:30 p.m. And the rafting company is required to provide transportation for their rafters, so shuttles are in place that shuttle them from the takeout back to where their cars are located. Signage is required along the river to educate the rafters, as well as when they put in on the river, safety, rafting safety, and the like. And then there's also signage required at the end at the takeout. Trash and litter maintenance is also required of the applicants. The trash cans that you see out along the Truckee River, together with the bathrooms, are all placed out there by the rafting company and as well as maintained. And it's important to note that they don't just they can't selectively pick up trash because they don't know whose trash is whose. So they do the majority of the cleanup of the Truckee River. And that includes sometimes those big, just, tubes, different types of rafting devices that aren't of theirs. And so then there is a requirement of a river monitor, and this river monitor ensures that all of these requirements and or conditions are met throughout the course of the season. Staff reviewed the project and determined that the appropriate environmental document was an addendum to the previously approved 2014 mitigated negative declaration, in that the applicants are not requesting or have indicated of any changes to the conditions of operations. So this is essentially just a renewal of their permit from 3 years ago. As always, the Truckee River water quality is of importance, and the applicants continue to pay their fair share towards the cleanup and education, which are done through the Truckee River Water Quality Monitoring Plan, as well as the Stormwater Management Plan, which is governed through the Stormwater Division of our Department of Public Works. The river monitor that I mentioned does do an annual report, and the counts are on random days throughout the week. A minimum of 4 days a week is required. The rafts are required to be counted. The counts are typically between 10 and 2. And for purposes of counts, it's important to note that they count all of flotation devices that are on the river. It just gives us a sense of commercial versus private rafters. And counts can include the commercial and private rafts, so the big rafts, or inflatable tubes, as I mentioned, kayaks, canoes, and so forth. And in the last report of 2019, there was a reported number of more private rafters than there were commercial. However, the water flow, which is always a factor with these big rafting companies, in the middle of July, while they were able to make it through July 4th, the river, the water master had to basically not allow the water to be released out of the dam of Lake Tahoe. So the water flow dramatically decreased. So unfortunately, the commercial companies were unable to raft, but it was great for the inner tubes and so forth. So they were counted, and hence why there's probably a higher count for private rafters than the commercial. So while I mentioned that there's no changes proposed to the rafting operations of the mountain air sports, in 2015 there was an EIR-EIS that was certified for the State Route 89 Fanny Bridge Community Revitalization Project. And with this project and is in process, many improvements. There's a new 153-foot bridge crossing over the Truckee River, so it takes you from Highway 89 over to Westlake Boulevard. There's roundabouts on either end, and then continued multimodal improvements such as bike lanes, linking pedestrian activities, and so forth. Although there is a portion of this project that is anticipating parcel frontage improvements along the frontages of the rafting company's parcel, we anticipate that it will be constructed within 3 years. This project is governed by Caltrans, so we don't really have much involvement as far as their scheduling and the like. So to ensure that the parcel and frontage improvements, which will improve the circulation patterns of the rafting company in itself, but to ensure that there's also, conditions addressed during the construction of the construction of the frontage improvements, and then the post-construction of these improvements and how they integrate into those improvements. The continued efforts of the traffic management plan will ensure that there are no impacts as a result of the parcel frontages during construction and post-construction. So with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt the addendum to the previously 2014 mitigated neg deck, and also adopt the mitigated monitoring and reporting program supported by the findings contained in the staff report, and approve the conditional use permit modification for outdoor recreation concessions and the rafting license for Tahoe Mountain Air Sports to continue to operate a commercial river raft rental business for an additional 3-year term. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
At this time, are there questions of the commissioners?
Question, if I could.
Okay.
Stacey, any incidents of, violations of conditions approval in the last 3 years?
No.
No?
None that has been brought. No.
Thank you.
Larry had it. That he asked earlier.
Larry, could you ask your question now?
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, my question went back to, did both of these river applications apply on time, that they're under the time constraints that, were they delinquent? No?
No, so this item is the Mountain Air Sports, and no, they submitted their application in December of 2019 prior to the expiration date of May 25th, 2020.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Stacey, there was a few issues that were brought up in the letter from the attorney. Could you address?
That is for the next item.
Oh, that's the next. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. That's
sorry.
Right.
Okay. At this point in time, then, the applicant, if you have any comments.
Mr. Bell, do you have any comments?
No, not at this time.
All right, thank you. And do we have any public commenting? Anyone online for the public comments? And again, if you do want to call in and make a comment on this item, it's 530-886-00.
Good morning. Please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Mr. Bill, do you have any comments? No, not at this time.
Hello, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Please turn your sound off behind you so you could participate in the meeting that's happening now.
Okay, I just did.
Okay. Please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
This is Ellie Waller for the record. Be reminded that the Tahoe Mountain Sports application is nearly duplicative to the next item on your agenda, and both businesses follow the same regulations and requirements. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you.
Sue, are there other public comments?
No.
All right, since there are no other public comments, we'll close the public comment period on this item. Stacey, do you have any additional information you want to present? All right. In that case, it's time for the commission to discuss or to make a motion.
I'll go ahead and make a motion unless there's any more comments. I would move that we adopt the addendum to the previous adopted 2014 mitigated negative declaration and the mitigation monitoring and reporting program supported by the findings contained in the staff report dated May 15th, 2020.
Second.
Okay. We have a first and a second. Roll call.
I have a first from Mr. Nader, a second from Mr. Moss. So a vote from Mr. Johnson, please.
Yes.
Mr. Moss.
Yes.
Mr. Nader.
Yes.
Mr. Sevison.
Yes.
Mr. Hauge.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
I would further move that we approve the conditional use permit modification for the outdoor recreation concessions and the rafting licensing for Tahoe Mountain Air Sports to continue to operate a commercial river raft rental business along the Truckee River for an additional 3-year subject to the conditions of approval and supported by the findings contained in the staff report dated May 15th, 2020.
Second.
We have a first and second. Roll call, please.
I have a first from Mr. Nader, a second from Mr. Moss. So a vote from Mr. Johnson, please.
Yes.
Mr. Moss.
Yes.
Mr. Nader.
Yes.
Mr. Sevison.
Yes.
Mr. Hauge.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, the next timed item is the Truckee River Raft Company rafting permit. Members of the public may now begin calling in at 530-886-1800 to begin queuing in for public comment on this item, which will not begin until the item presentation is complete by Stacy Wydra. Stacy? What's that?
I'll bring the applicant in.
Oh, yes, and before you begin, let's bring the applicant in. Sorry.
Thank you. Good morning. Is this the applicant?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you're live in the hearing room for Stacy Wydra's presentation.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Good morning again. So this next item, your 1030 item, is for the Truckee River Raft Company, rafting license, and also conditional use permit. Because you just heard me on a lot of slides will be duplicate, so I'll abbreviate a little, but I'm happy to re-expand if you would like me to. So with that, the applicants are requesting approval of a conditional use permit modification to allow continued outdoor recreation concessions and a rafting license in order to continue to operate a commercial river raft rental business along the Truckee River for an additional 3-year term. Similar to the Mountain Air Sports, the put-in is adjacent to, located here in Tahoe City. They then float down the river and then take out at Alpine Meadow, or just south of, or just north of Alpine Meadows Road, and right near the River Ranch. This aerial also shows, again, the location and surrounding uses, so commercial operations up here, as well as their off-site parking locations. So the reds indicate where their parking locations are located. So again, similar rafting requirements over the last 3 years have been applied to the rafting license as well as the use permit. And the 3-year rafting license, again, governed by Article 5.16 of the Placer County Code, a maximum 100 raft tags. Rafts are limited as to when they can put in on the river and, or actually the times at which they can be put in. Transportation, they're required to shuttle their patrons. And signage and trash and litter, all of that has to be maintained throughout the course of their season. And then again, an addendum was prepared as the environmental document, as that there were no changes proposed to the applicant's operations. As always, the Truckee River water quality is of importance, and we will continue to develop these plans as we need annually, as well as the applicants contribute their fair share. And similarly, the river monitor will continue to monitor daily of the rafts that are going down the river, and that river monitor also takes note of the trash and the bathroom conditions and so forth. And while I mentioned there were no changes proposed to the rafting operations, there are those frontage improvements with the Fanny Bridge State Route 89 Community Revitalization Project. And I'll go into this a little bit more in a slide that I have, which I think will help also. I'll be able to identify bus routes relative to these improvements. So we did receive correspondence on this item for the Truckee River Raft Company, and I'm just going to go through the comments that were provided and staff's response. So one of the comments was that new significant impacts were identified. However, staff's response was that the current addendum is not evaluated for purposes of the initial project's environmental impact, since that was previously approved and adopted in 2014. Rather, it's evaluated for any proposed changes of today's project that's going forward for another 3-year term. In this case, there are no proposed changes by the applicant for the operation of their rafting company. Another item that was raised was the expiration of the permit. This application was filed on December 31st, 2019, prior to the expiration date of May 25th, 2020. There was comment about the use of the Bechtold site, and I have a next slide that will show you where the Bechtold site is. However, it's important to note that the use of the Bechtold site that was described in the correspondence received was not provided as part of the project description and was not proposed as part of the project, so therefore staff did not review that site. However, should the commission feel that it may be necessary, I have provided a suggested condition of approval, which is listed here. It basically is stating that the applicant shall not use that parcel because it wasn't introduced, and for any aspects of the rafting company. So here is a slide, an aerial, and just to get you acquainted, here's where the rafting company puts in, and then here is the Bechtold building. While it was stated in the correspondence that buses may have used the Bechtold building as a circulation or drop-off or pickup, now with the new frontage improvements, which actually are shown here, this is the new bridge crossing, so bypass. We come in from 89. There's one of the new roundabouts. So what the buses will now be able to do is pick up their patrons here and then drive down Westlake Boulevard and then cross the river and back down. Whereas previously, before all of these improvements, the buses had to come in here into the Y and flip a U-turn, wait at the light, and then come back down. So that was the original transportation routes. So with these new improvements, there's actually quite improvement for the bus circulation and shuttles proposed with this rafting company. Additional correspondence addressed or raised a comment about the off-site commercial parking. And the applicants do have commercial parking located, well, on that map I showed you up at the front at the put-in, but then also majority of their parking is at the River Ranch or near Alpine Meadows Road. And this parking or these parking areas carry 2 zoning districts, a commercial as well as residential. However, as part of Chapter 5, specifically Section 5.16.290, off-street parking spaces shall be provided at the business location or approved off-site locations. And this off-site location has been approved for quite some time, prior to me. So, and since I've been here. So, so with that, the Development Review Committee is requesting that the Planning Commission adopt the addendum to the previously adopted 2014 Mitigated Negative Declaration, as well as the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, and also is recommending that the Planning Commission approve the conditional use permit modification for outdoor recreation concessions and the rafting license for Truckee River Raft Company to continue to operate for another 3-year term. So with that, that concludes my presentation.
I have a question. Do we want to take, according to the list, DJ, let's take comments from the applicant, and then we'll have questions of the commission.
I have a question of Stacy.
Okay. Okay.
It's a simple question. Okay. Mainly just informational question. You talk about a river monitor. I should have asked this question at the last presentation.
Sure.
Who employs the river monitor?
It is a third-party contract between both river companies.
Okay. The answer is thank you.
Stacy, the recommendation has stated, does that include the additional condition of approval?
No,
No.
not at this time.
Okay.
It's just a suggested condition of approval should your commission want to add it.
Thank you.
All right. Any other commission questions? Don't see any. So at this time, are there any comments from the applicant?
No real comments. I think Stacy did a good job addressing everything else. Just for clarification, the Bechtold property that was discussed is also owned by us. When the CHP didn't want either company's buses turning left in the Y, we decided it was safer to go straight and use ours. So the goal was to make things safer and only use private property owned by us, not to jam up public parking lots or anything else.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the commission? Don't see any. So at this time, the public comment period is open. Again, call 530, let's see, where's that number again? 886-1800. And if there are public comments, Sue?
Good morning. You're live in the hearing room. Please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Greg Gatto, and I want to follow up on the comment letter I submitted yesterday in opposition to the Truckee River Raft Company project. In a jurisdictional matter, the Planning Commission will not take action to approve the conditional use permit modification. County Code Section 1558160 is clear on this point, declaring that when the time limit for a permit expires, the permit shall be deemed to have lapsed, and no use of the land shall be reactivated unless a new permit is first obtained. The Raft Company's permit expired by its own terms on May 25th, 2020. The code does not allow for staff to unilaterally extend the time for permit expiration, and such an action would be in direct contravention of the county code. There's no provision in the code allowing for an extension of the use permit upon submitting an application prior to expiration. To the contrary, the code expressly provides that upon expiration of the time limit in the permit's condition of approval, the permit lapses. The code mandates that once a permit expires, a new permit must be obtained. Because a new permit has not been agendized for hearing this morning, the Commission cannot take action to approve the project. Regarding the substantive issues of the project, the applicant has admitted that it has repeatedly violated past conditions, utilizing unauthorized off-site locations for rafting operations, staging, and parking. And we would agree that any future approval of the project should incorporate the express condition that was recommended by staff today. Also, if the applicant decides to return to the Planning Commission for consideration of a new use permit, either a subsequent mitigated negative declaration or a subsequent EIR must be prepared. Case law is well established that an addendum is legally deficient in cases where new or changed mitigation measures are required to mitigate significant impacts resulting from changed circumstances, not just changes in the project itself. In this case, the county has identified the Fanny Bridge Community Revitalization Project as a changed circumstance that will lead to potentially significant traffic impacts unless new mitigation measures are incorporated into a traffic management plan. The applicant has also added on-site food service at its raft put-in location, and the impacts resulting from this new use must be analyzed in the subsequent mitigated neg deck or EIR. And further, any required COVID-19 social distancing measures will undoubtedly significantly increase shuttle trips. Further traffic studies and mitigation must be required and incorporated into the subsequent environmental analysis prepared for the project. Finally, 2 of the off-site parking sites identified by the applicant utilized for its rafting operations are in a single-family residential zoning district.
Mr. Gatto,
Off-site parking
your
yes.
3 minutes is up. If you could close your comments quickly.
Yes, thank you. Off-site parking for commercial operations is not an allowed use in the single-family residential zoning district. And Chapter 5.16.290 relating to rafting licenses does not allow staff to override the express zoning restrictions. Thank you for your consideration of my comments.
Thank you. I'm assuming there's other comments, Sue? Okay, there is, and again, if you do call in, the number is 1800.
Good morning, you're live in the hearing room. Please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Danielle Poirier. I'm calling from the River Ranch Lodge and Restaurant. My comments seem irrelevant at the moment, but we wanted to make sure that the Planning Commission recognizes the importance of renewing or issuing a new permit for the Truckee River Raft Company, as their operations are integral to the fabric of our culture and society in the summertime and would drastically impact the level of our business here at the River Ranch, as we have seen in prior years, when there have been drought and other water issues. So we would just ask that the Planning Commission consider the economic impact of not renewing or issuing a new permit. And thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you. There's more. Okay. There are additional persons commenting, so we'll hold for those. If you still want to comment, the number is 53886-1800.
Hello, Ellie Waller for the record.
Thank you.
I apologize, I was unable to reach out to the commissioners or provide my usual comprehensive comments, as you as well as the public received correspondence less than 24 hours before the meeting. Commissioners, I am one of 100+ employees that works for the seasonal rafting businesses in Tahoe City. I personally, as an employee, spend dollars on food, gas, purchase sundry items, etc. You received inaccurate correspondence from an attorney on behalf of Samir Tuma. I'm introducing you to Mr. Gatto's client, Samir Tuma, chairman of the board of the North Lake Tahoe Resort Association, whose job it is to keep businesses alive and support tourism. The North Lake Tahoe Resort Association mission to promote tourism and business through efforts that enhance the economic, environmental, recreational, and cultural climate of the area. The front page of the Resort Association web, North Lake Tahoe adventures await. We all have an intimate need to explore, wander, and revel in the beauty of the world. It's human nature to connect with the outdoors. The restorative power of nature is extraordinary, and in these times our souls are craving an escape to places of inspiration and serenity. Our community is actively preparing to welcome you back to nature one step at a time. I find it difficult to comprehend that TripAdvisor's #1 tours and water sports recipient in Tahoe City is attacked by the chairman of the board of the very association charged with supporting businesses like Truckee River Rafting and Mountain Air Sports, demanding the existing permit process that could affect both rafting businesses be revisited by unsubstantiated and inaccurate accusations is unconscionable. Mr. Tuma is a relatively new property owner in Tahoe City and doesn't understand the seasonal rafting businesses operations that have been in existence for over 40 years that follow all prescriptive rules, COVID requirements, requests from the county, Caltrans, etc. Not sure why he's challenging Placer County staff recommendation of approval with no regard to the irreparable personal and local economic harm he's proposing. Haven't we had enough cancellations of other economic boosters like the 4th of July celebrations? This approval is crucial to recovery efforts, and also, same as the last application you approve, affects the livelihoods of other businesses. The 63-page staff report accurately and comprehensively provides the reasons for approval. Pages 2 through 8 describe compliance with parking, traffic, river cleanup. Page 9 explains the findings are met. Pages 11 through 63, which is the same as the last one you heard, contains maps, site plans, conditions of approval, mitigated next
Ellie, your time is up.
Thank you. I am just going to finish up. I strongly urge you to approve the request for the conditional use permit modification and rafting license requested before you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Hers?
Yes.
Okay, we do have additional persons with comment.
Good morning.
Hello there.
You're live in the hearing room. Please state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Steve Topol, T-O-P-O-L. I own a business in Tahoe City called the Blue Agave. It's in the old Tahoe Inn in the middle of town. I grew up in Tahoe City, and rafting has been the lifeblood of this town ever since it came into existence, when there was inner tubes being sent down from the sides of the Truckee and Tahoe City down to the river ranch. So, and ever since, for the last 40 years, the Bells and the Fullers and now the Rednecks have been doing a wonderful job keeping our town an active, vibrant place where people want to come to object to a vital, after all this COVID stuff and being sheltered in place and not having any income for the last 3 months. We need revitalization. We need the shot in the arm. We need to have our tourism come back to town. One of those vital places is on the river. It's a natural resource. The Fullers / Rednecks have done a remarkable job over the years maintaining the integrity and the beauty of that location. I'm not aware of any accidents that have ever happened, other than maybe someone cutting their foot on a piece of glass or something in the water. I don't even know. But there's never been an accident with an automobile or one of the buses. It all seems very orderly. There's adequate parking. We've never had a problem as a result of the rafting. And to pick and choose and be picky about all the little details now seem to be, de minimis as far as I'm concerned. There's the gentleman that is complaining about the Fullers and the Rednecks operation. I know there's some dynamics between the two of them. I can't help to think that plays into some part of this, because if the hotel that was going to be built by Mr. Samir, or by Samir, was actually under construction, he would want to have the rafting take place because it will help fill up his hotel rooms. It helps the rafting helps fill up my restaurant. We need it. It's a part of Tahoe, and you might as well just shut down Squaw Valley if you can't get this thing done. So anyway, I appreciate your time, and I'll get my little fat face that I've gained 15, 20 pounds over the last 3 months from this COVID being sheltered in place, and I'll go back to working out and get myself back in shape. But thank you so much, and good luck to all of you guys.
Thank you so much. You said additional comments?
Not at the moment, if you want to give it a minute.
Let me give it a minute. The number is 530-886-1800. No more comments. All right. So staff response to the comments made, and I'm assuming...
How about the applicant?
Right now we're asking staff response to the comments made, along with, I'm assuming, Stacy and also Curtis? Clayton, I'm sorry, Clayton.
I believe that my presentation really outlined all of the comments made by Mr. Gatto. And then the other, as far as the economic impact that I heard through the commenters, while it is important, but it's, we look at the project on the merits of its meeting the requirements of the code, and of which it does. So then the economics is obviously just a benefit if the project is approved. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have of the commenters.
Let me see, Stacy, I guess I'm a little bit confused, but I think what I heard is the applicant did apply in a timely fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And in essence, this requirement for actually a new permit every 3 years, and in essence, that's what we have here?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Other question for county council, since this attorney is making a pretty big point about the fact that this is expired, even though they did apply for it in December, would you respond to that?
Yeah, so the county's practice has historically been to allow the extension request as long as the request is filed prior to expiration of the permit. Here, the permit would have expired in May, and as staff has indicated, they submitted the request for the extension in December of the prior year.
So that doesn't preclude it, even though it has passed the date?
Right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Other questions of the commissioners? Applicant, do you have any statements?
I'm available for any questions. The long-winded one from the attorney, unfortunately, is more a bit of retaliation regarding a separate project with separate companies that he's upset with. We've been in front of you commenting about that for years. But there really are no changes. And the food truck thing, I'm not sure where that came from. We haven't asked for anything about a food truck. There was a food truck parked in the lot while we were closed last year, and this is also coming from the same person that had a food truck in their property last week. The county had signed off on everything and there were no issues. I don't know why the food truck, separately owned by an entirely different group of people, was thrown into our rafting stuff.
All right, thank you.
Stacy, could you put the recommendations back up, please?
All right, and I want to officially close the public comment period and bring it back to the commission for discussion and decision.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment, if I could. Yep. Mr. Chairman. Let me see, one of the things that I think about here is the monitoring process and the work that the rafting companies are doing really allow for pretty good management of the river. In the absence of these two companies and operating under their permit, then the river use would be basically unbridled, because people have the right to enter the river from the national forest land and float it by themselves. And so I just wanted to make the comment that these two companies actually provide for a lot of the quality of the management, the recreation that goes on that river.
And I'd like to second that as well, because I wanted to comment on the last one that we had, that it's incredible to me that these two companies take on tremendous responsibility that is beyond their actual area of impact. Because if we look at it, the public is doing a lot of activity on this river that they're not responsible for, but they do a significant amount of cleanup. Those portable toilets are also available to the public. So there's an additional significant cost to them, and I would, again, second what Rich had to say about what this does to help maintain the quality of that river for what these two companies do. So I think it's critical, and I'm glad to go ahead and make a motion. The only thing I would ask is that maybe as a commission we talk about the proposed amendment related to the Bechtel property. So if there's a feeling about wanting to do that or not.
My 2 cents worth would be that parking is a premium, and more is always better. I can't see why restricting parking, especially if it's a parcel they currently own, restricting their ability to use it seems kind of pointless.
I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page, since staff had brought it up as an option.
Right. No, I concur with Mr. Moss on that.
Okay, then I would go ahead and make a motion that we adopt the addendum to the previous adopted 2014 mitigated negative declaration and the mitigated monitoring and reporting program supported by the findings contained in the staff report dated May 15th, 2020.
Second.
Oh, okay. we have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Okay, we have a first from Mr. Nader and a second by Mr. Moss. And could I get a vote from Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Yes.
Mr. Nader?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
And this item can be appealed within 10 days, and a fee is $619.
Oh, you got another.
I'm sorry.
One
more. Sorry.
I would further move that we approve the conditional use permit modification for the outdoor recreation concessions and the rafting license for the Truckee River Rafting Company to continue to operate a commercial river raft rental business along the Truckee River for an additional 3-year term, subject to the conditions of approval and supported by the findings contained in the staff report dated May 15th, 2020.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
I have a first from Mr. Nader, a second from Mr. Sevison. So vote from Mr. Johnson, please.
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Yes.
Mr. Nader?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, it's appropriate to say that this item can be appealed within 10 days, and the fee is $619. All right, the next item, time for 10:45, and we're beyond that, is the Doroshuk variance. This is a third-party appeal of the zoning administrator's approval of a variance. Members of the public may now begin calling in at 530-886-1800 to begin queuing in for public comment on the item, which will not begin until the item presentation is complete. Amy Rossig will be presenting this item. Thank you, Stacy. You going to call in the applicant?
Well, we're going to have, let's see, who's where?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Doroshuk is on Skype,
All right.
and the appellant I can bring in.
Okay, so we'll wait for the appellant to come in onto the phone.
Okay. Let's see. Good morning. Is this Marcia Dolkus?
Yes.
Okay. You are live in the hearing room to hear Ms. Rossig's presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Amy?
Sure, Mr. Dolkus.
Oh. Can we,
I mean, Mr. Doroshuk.
Mr. Dorshuk, you should be on Skype. Could you unmute and let us know you're listening?
Yes, I am here, and I can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you so much. All right.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Amy Rossig with the Planning Services Division. The item that I have before you this morning is a third-party appeal for a variance that was approved by the zoning administrator called the Doroshuk variance. The project site is located at 1025 Mary Knoll Road in Auburn. It's located just north of Mount Vernon Road. To the east is the city of Auburn city limits. The project site is approximately 1 acre in size. It's currently developed with a 1,000 square foot single family residence, and it has a detached garage, which is about 500 square feet. There's also an on-site sewage disposal system on site. It's surrounded by other properties that are also developed with single family residences, and the properties to the north are currently undeveloped. So I have some photos of the project site here for you. The photo at the top is a picture that I took back in March. You can see the residence on the right-hand side of the photograph, and there are some oak trees on the left-hand side. And in this grassy area is where the addition is being proposed. You can also see some landscaping on the left-hand side of the photograph as well, and there's also a fence that's there. And the photograph on the bottom is a picture taken from Mary Knoll Road of the project site, so you can see the residence. It's kind of underneath the trees. It's kind of hard to see, but there's also a fence in the front, and you can kind of see Mount Vernon Road over to the left. And then to the right of this photograph, which is not shown, is the driveway, which provides access to this project site. So I have a picture of it here on the right-hand side on this slide. And then the subject of this variance is regarding a road easement. So the photographs on the left-hand side are pictures of that easement on the adjacent property. So the picture I took in March is in the top left-hand corner, and you can see it's kind of overgrown. It's kind of hard to see that easement. There's a gate there. I was just out at the project site just last week, and I took a picture, which is in the middle there. And you can see that there's been some clearing that's been done. It's a lot easier to see that road easement now. So the project that was brought before the zoning administrator was for a 1,000 square foot addition to an existing single-family residence. And the addition was going to be proposed 37 feet from the edge of easement, where a front setback of 50 feet from edge of easement is normally required. The addition also included a little porch. It's about 70 square feet, and that was going to be 43 feet from edge of easement, where 50 feet is normally required. And the reason why we know about this off-site easement is because there's a map from 1980 which shows this easement, and I have it outlined on this map here. And you can see the project site is in the bottom right-hand corner. There's 4 parcels to the north of the project site, which are labeled as parcels A, B, C, and D. And the easement adjacent to the project site is 20 feet in length, and then that turns into what's called Area K, which is 40 feet in length. And the main purpose of Area K is to provide access to parcels A, B, C, and D. So in April of this year, the zoning administrator took a review of the project and approved the variance based on special circumstances pertaining to the site layout, such as the location of the house, which was constructed in the 1950s, the driveway, which is located to the east of the project site. There's an existing septic system, which is about 14 feet to the north of the residence, and the topography and the landscaping. So following the approval of the variance, we received an appeal from Marcia and Tom Dulcus. And the central point of the appeal is regarding a 40-foot community road, and the central point is that this information wasn't disclosed to staff and included in the variance request, which was approved by the zoning administrator. And so the appeal included information such as that there's this 40-foot community road, and it's described in the project site's deed, which dates back to 1950. And it says that the southern property line goes down the center line of this 40-foot community road, but it doesn't include any additional information such as access, restrictions, what the purpose of it for, if there's utilities that can be included, what rights that anyone has to it. And in the appeal package, there was a number of exhibits that were included. All those exhibits were included in your staff report, but I included a couple of exhibits here just to focus on. So the first one is exhibit number 2, which is on the right-hand side. That is a map of the project site. And you can see there's like a little pink hashed line, and that shows where the 20-foot community road would be located on the project site. And the image on the left-hand side is a picture of the adjacent properties. This comes from that final map that we talked about earlier. So you can see Area K is the hashed area. There's also a green line, and that was the easement, which was included as part of the variance to the zoning administrator. So it's
a quick question, Amy.
Definitely.
The photograph you took of that easement that we saw from June, that's only the hash line, that does not include the green area?
It is the green area on that map.
It is the green area. So there's been grading in that green area. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So it's worth pointing out that these maps come from a preliminary title report, which was prepared by Fidelity Title Company. And these maps include disclosures which say that these easements are depicted as a courtesy. This is not the exact location of these easements, and it's not recommended that you go by exactly where these easements are shown on these maps. So it recommends that you hire a surveyor to come out and determine the exact location of these easements. So due to the uncertainty and undefined nature of the easements and the community road, staff cannot determine what rights do or do not exist, or what rights an off-site property owner might have as far as developing on the on-site property. Furthermore, the final map, which I have still up here on the screen on the left-hand side, it implies that the improvements would be conducted for parcels A, B, C, and D, like the road improvements would be off-site, not on the project site's property. So staff has reviewed the issues raised in the appeal letter, and the 40-foot community road is new information that was not included in the staff report and the site plan that was prepared by the zoning administrator. So the applicant has updated the site plan to now show the community road. 20 feet of it is shown here. So the variance has also been updated to show that the setback would now be 17 feet from the edge of easement instead of 37 feet from edge of easement. And due to the undefined nature of the community road, it is reasonable to conclude that rights to improve this road could exist if it was ever to come about. So therefore, staff has revised the conditions of approval to reflect this new information. The staff report has also been updated to include this new information for the setbacks. And furthermore, staff has reviewed the site plan to determine that the findings made by the zoning administrator remain valid and that the proposed addition would not interfere with any future development if this community road was to be developed. So therefore, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission deny the appeal and uphold the zoning administrator's decision to approve the variance based on the findings and conditions of approval contained in the staff report, and find the project is categorically exempt from environmental review. I'm available if you have any questions.
I have a question,
yes.
Amy. The variance that the zoning administrator approved, was that variance in relationship to Mount Vernon Road, or what was it in relationship to?
Yeah, so try to see which map might be better. So there's a 20-foot easement on the adjacent property which connects to Mount Vernon Road, but it's not specifically a setback or from Mount Vernon Road. It's a little bit further away.
I guess I'm still puzzling. So there's a variance request, and it looks like a corner of the property gets into a setback, I guess.
Right.
Is that setback in relationship to the Mount Vernon Road, or what is the setback in relationship to?
It's mainly because of the easement. Mount Vernon Road is, I believe, as you can see, like a little tip of the property does hit Mount Vernon Road. It would meet the setback.
Amy, there might be a pointer on the remote. Is it working on the top button?
It appears the setback is from the side yard, the side property line, not the
right.
And
yeah.
And so it appears that what they're doing here is now acknowledging that 20-foot easement and looking at the 17-foot variance from that easement.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that a change from what the zoning administrator approved?
It is a change only because now we know that there is that 20-foot easement that the zoning administrator approved is kind of part of a 40-foot community road, and 20 feet is now also on the project site. So we've modified that setback to be from the edge of the community road, which shows up now on the project site.
Okay.
Okay.
Still confusing.
I guess I sort of understand. We'll find out more, I guess.
Are there other questions of the staff?
Amy, and I apologize, I stepped out of the room for a minute, so I may have missed this, but in the staff report, it says that the county would only require for access to those 4 lots a 24-foot road, right?
Right.
And so this 40 feet is never really, the county is certainly not going to require that 40 feet be developed, so it's kind of like, I don't know why, if those lots were ever developed and getting access, why you would spend the extra money to do a 40-foot road when the county will allow you to do a 24-foot road.
Correct. Yes, it would be pretty expensive.
So the odds of it actually encroaching into getting close to where this extension of this house is probably fairly remote, I would assume. But it's there, so we have to recognize that.
Correct, which is the purpose of, kind of back to your point, Commissioner Johnson, why we updated the site plan to show this community road, because it does exist and we need to validate that point. But staff has determined through our review that even if the road was to be developed, it would not be affected and hinder any development from this addition.
All right. Other questions of the commission? I can't see Larry up there, but okay, go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, so the zoning administrator approved this,
Correct.
and the main rationale that he used for that?
So the main rationale was that there are special circumstances surrounding the site. For instance, there's a septic system which is to the rear of the project site, which is in the backyard. So developing, going out back that way to meet the setback requirements is impossible unless you relocate the septic system. And this kind of seems like the only viable option for development for this addition.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think it's also important to note that the Planning Commission's review of this appeal is an independent review. And so you would be looking at all the facts to independently determine whether or not the variance is warranted. So even though the zoning administrator made a decision based on appears to be a different calculation of the variance amount, you are tasked with deciding whether the variance is appropriate based on all the information you're provided.
All right, thank you. Other questions of the commission? All right, at this time, if the appellant would address the commission.
Ms. Dolkus?
Yes.
It is your turn to speak.
Thank you. My name is Marcia Dolkus. This is my husband next to me, Tom Dolkus. We own the property behind Mr. Duroshik's property, the subdivision of 20 acres into 4 parcels. I'd like to make it very clear to the commission that we tried to make our comments about our easement known at the hearing, but the agenda item was listed as incorrectly. So when we called the county to make our comments, they couldn't find the agenda item. So we were forced to appeal this. The main reason for our appeal is that we wanted to make it very clear to everyone, to the county, and have it be on record that the easement that we have is 20 feet inside the property line of Mr. Duroshik's southwesterly line, and that the proposal that he submitted to the county excluded the easement 20 feet within his property. The purpose of that easement was for the development of a community road to access the subdivision behind Mr. Duroshik's property. We own the property that was originally the owner who owned that property was the original owner of Mr. Duroshik's parcel, and naturally gave to himself an easement over that edge of Mr. Duroshik's property for the purpose of development of a community road. At present, the width of that little road, and it's not much of a road, it's more like a driveway, is about 16.5 feet. It's supposed to be 20 feet, but I don't know, it's probably eroded over the years. If the county requires only a 24-foot ingress and egress into that subdivision, we don't have those extra 4 feet. The other side of our road is a steep embankment and would encroach on Mount Vernon Road, so we don't want to do that. So naturally, we want to use our easement rights to expand the road, both for the purposes of servicing the subdivision and also to make sure that it's an equitable, wide enough ingress and egress to meet the CAL FIRE requirements. We've had a lot of homeless people camping back there. We want to clear it up and make it fire safe. And because of that, we do need to make use of our easement. So the purpose of our appeal is twofold, really. We don't have an objection to Mr. Duroshik's addition per se, but we wanted the county to know about this because it was not included in his plan. So to clarify that, first purpose of our appeal, and once again, we had to appeal it because we couldn't comment in a public meeting. And secondly, also to make everyone aware that we do intend to widen the road because we need to, and that it will actually be inside Mr. Duroshik's property line because it was not written that way on his proposal. So that's the purpose of our appeal and the reason why we want it noted. If the county is going to approve Mr. Duroshik's addition, we want everyone to be aware that it's not 37 feet from the road, our driveway. It's really 17 feet because there's a 20-foot easement inside the property line on Mr. Droshik's property. So that's the purpose of our appeal, the purpose that we're bringing this before the Planning Commission.
All right, thank you so much.
Oh, I do have one last comment. This community road has been surveyed. We know the meets and bounds. It is not unidentified or unidentifiable. It was listed in Exhibit A in the legal description to Mr. Droshik's property in his title report. It's on the map from his title report, and it is listed in item 4D on his title report. And, you know, title companies don't insure any easements in general, but it is listed in 3 different places. We did search all of the public records, and it does exist, and there is no other purpose for which it could exist except to service the property behind it, because the original owner also owns Mr. Droshik's property. So it was clearly described in his title report, and we did have it surveyed, and the survey markers were there. They disappeared. We don't know why, but we did remark them. So it has been surveyed, and we surveyed this a long time before Mr. Droshik proposed an addition because we just wanted to know where the easement was. So long before any of this came up, we had it surveyed, so we knew about it. And we just wanted the Planning Commission to be aware of it before they granted the setback area. Thank you. Thank you so much.
At this time, does the applicant wish to address the commission?
Sure. Yeah. I just wanted to say that when I applied for the initial variance, I triple checked with my title company regarding this easement because I did see it there, but according to my title company, what they had on record, and that's what I presented to the planning department, to Amy originally, it did not show that the easement encroached onto my property. So that's why we went off of the property edge line instead of the edge of the easement, because all the information that I had that the title company provided to me, my title company, regarding my property, they had no information and no records of any kind of easement. Now, what Marcia stated is correct. It does mention this easement in the description, but for whatever reason, the color-coded map that was provided alongside this description did not match. So the map did not show the easement. So therefore we proceeded to just measure from the edge of the property line. Now that Marcia has disclosed and my title company did verify that they made a mistake and that there in fact is an easement, I have no opposition toward this easement whatsoever. I don't mind it. If it's there and it's proposed to be there, I have no opposition whatsoever. Like Amy mentioned, it's still going to be 17 feet from the easement. I feel that is still, enough distance for it to not interfere with the property or the easement. So I'm totally okay with the easement being there. I have no oppositions. I'm not, anything like that. I just want to say that, there was no intent to disclose information or withhold information initially about the easement. I actually filing a claim with my title company regarding this misinformation, but that's another story. But anyways, yeah, that's all I want to say is that I didn't know about it, but now that it is there, I have no opposition with this easement. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a question.
If you have a question of you?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Could you explain the circumstances relating to the septic system and maybe, why you couldn't do the addition in the back?
Is that question for me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The septic system is directly behind the house. I think 14 feet Amy mentioned. It's developing anything directly behind the house would call for the septic system to be completely excavated and removed to another location on the property. So that was to prevent digging up the septic tank and all the leach fields and stuff like that. That was the thinking behind adding it on the side of the property.
Okay, and so I presume that's the sole reason for the request for a variance?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, at this time, let's open this for public comment. The number to call is 530-886-1800, and we'll wait 30 to 40 seconds to see if calls come in. No calls. All right. So there are no others calling in for public comments, so we'll close the public comment period. Staff, do you have any further comments or response to the comments made? Staff says there's none, so at this time, let's bring it back to the Commission for discussion and action.
Could I just make one other comment, or is it too late?
No, the comment period is closed.
That's the appellant.
I'm sorry, who?
That's the appellant.
Oh, the appellant. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I may not have explained one other reason for my noting this to the Planning Commission, and that is when we cleared the brush away from the driveway and long, before that, we were concerned that because the applicant's addition was only 17 feet from the easement, that there could be some damage to his foundation when we do expand the road, and because it is so close. And we were concerned about lateral support there. We have not expanded the driveway yet. We just cleared it up, but it's pretty clear that when we do, we might need a retaining wall along there, and we were very concerned because his addition is only 17 feet from easement, that was rather close. So that's another reason why we appeal it, because in looking at the site, there's a whole acre of land, so it was hard for us to understand why that was needed in that particular spot. But that's all we have to say about it. If the Planning Commission's okay with that, we just wanted to make sure all parties were aware of how close the addition is to that easement. Thank you so much. And it is very clearly outlined in the title report, because we were able to survey it. So thank you very much for listening to us, and we appreciate your consideration.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in absence of any discussion amongst the commission, I'd be ready to make a motion.
All right, we'll accept that.
I move that we deny the appeal and uphold the zoning administrator's decision to approve the variance, PLN 20-00051, supported by the findings and conditions of approval stated in the staff report.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
I have a first from Mr. Moss, a second from Mr. Johnson. So a vote from Mr. Johnson, please.
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Yes.
Mr. Nader?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
And Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
I would further move that we find the project categorically exempt from the environmental review pursuant to the provisions of section 18.36.050A and 18.36.070A1 of the Placer County Environmental Review Ordinance, and with sections 15.303 and 15.305A of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines, Class 3 new construction or conversion of a small structure, and Class 5 minor alterations in land use limitations.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call.
The first from Mr. Moss, a second from Mr. Sevison. So a vote from Mr. Johnson, please.
Yes.
Mr. Moss?
Yes.
Mr. Nader?
Yes.
Mr. Sevison?
Yes.
Mr. Hauge?
Yes.
Thank you.
With that, that concludes the items on the agenda tonight. The decision of the Planning Commission may be appealed by anyone who appeared at today's hearing and provided comment, or anyone that submitted written comments on these items. An appeal must be filed within 10 days of today's date and shall be accompanied by a filing fee of $619. And with that, the meeting is adjourned.